Welcome to the series Employee Health Services, Mind, Body, and Spirit. Employee Health is a section in the City of Albuquerque's Risk Management Division. Its mission is to promote a sense of community and increase wellness among city employees and their families by providing education and counseling about physical and mental health. And now, Mind, Body, and Spirit with Dr. Julia Bain.
Hello and welcome to Mind, Body, and Spirit. My name is Dr. Julia Bain, and today we are going to have a conversation with our Mayor, Richard Berry. Welcome to the show, Mayor.
Dr. Bain, how are you?
I'm well. It's good to see you. Thank
Great
you
to
for
see
coming.
you. I'm a big fan of what you do.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, our employee assistance program is really one of the great assets we have in our city for our employees, and you do such a good job. And I see you around City Hall, and you always have a smile, and you're always upbeat, and you know, you deal with serious subjects, but we appreciate your can-do attitude and everything that you do.
I appreciate those kind words. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I have some questions I want to ask you.
You bet.
Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. I want you to tell the audience
Sure.
what you want them to know about being the mayor of Albuquerque at this time in our history. What's it like for you?
Well, it's a blessing. You know, it's a humbling experience, and what's really humbling about it is the fact that you get to tackle some difficult issues. And I know we'll talk about some of those today, but it's just you get to meet people in your community every day that you would never get a chance to meet otherwise. Yeah. And the spectrum of issues in a city of this size, you know, we're about the 30th largest city in the country now. We're a larger city by population than Atlanta, for example, or San Francisco, believe it or not.
I didn't know that.
They're known as, well, they're big metro areas, but our city itself is a smaller metro, but we have a large city here. So you get to, you know, address issues and meet people daily who bring such a breadth of information to you. And so for me, it's just it's a great job. It's probably the best job in America, even though it's one of the toughest jobs. But I tell people every day, it's no tougher than being a first grade teacher. It's no tougher than being a police officer. It's no tougher than, I mean, there's a lot of tough jobs out there. And in an economy like we've had in the United States for the last, you know, ever since I've been the mayor, myself and other mayors around the country, when we meet, we just talk about being mayors in a time of austerity because of most budgets have had to be cut significantly. And we've had to really take on a role as mayors around the country of being those who get things done. We're on the front lines of American government. Not to make a political statement here, but people aren't satisfied with what's happening in Washington. But they see their mayors as people, whether they agree with them on one issue or not, is at least being out there on the streets, on Main Street, trying to make things happen. So it's a great job. I'm the luckiest guy in town. I mean, really.
Well, I think you lead with a brave heart.
Well, I'm just a regular guy. They got a chance to be the mayor. And we tell people always, we will always make a thoughtful decision. We will always do our homework. We will always try to do what we think is best and be on the high ground, and knowing that even when you do that, you're going to make mistakes. And I tell my staff almost every day, we want to be forward thinkers, and we are getting lots of national attention now for some of our programs that we're doing with Innovate ABQ, our entrepreneurial programs, our workforce development programs like Talent Albuquerque was just on the White House website, and some of the things that we're doing. But you know, if we're going to be pushing, we're going to make some mistakes, but make them honest mistakes, and then we can pivot from those and hopefully really look back and say that we handed off the city administration in much better shape than we found it, but also that we just really had a heart for service. So yeah, it's like I say, there's not a day that goes by that I don't feel fortunate to get to do this.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you are such a reasonable man.
Well, we try.
Absolutely. It's a dying art. It's a dying art.
I think it's coming back. I think
Yeah.
I can only hope for my son, you know, who's in high school now, that statesmanship and the art of compromise and the art of collaboration really returns to American politics, and we're trying to be part of that. And a lot of my mayor friends around the country are trying to be part of that. Democrats and Republicans, you know, we don't spend a lot of time as mayors really worrying about who's who and, you know, what stripes you have coming in. We just want to get things done.
And provide a quality of life for people so they can enjoy their lives.
Absolutely, and try to make the decisions, to put the resources where you can to make the biggest difference. And I was a two-term state legislator before being the mayor. And I was on the Appropriations and Finance Committee, which is the budget committee for the state of New Mexico.
Right.
And you learn very quickly that every day somebody's in your committee room, and this is where I have a lot of respect for our legislators as well. One of the last citizen legislatures in the country, non-paid. Every day somebody comes in, and whether you're dealing with a group of seniors, a group of veterans, a group of teachers, parents with children who have autism, whatever it happens to be, there's this another breadth there, and everybody's looking at their issue and their circumstances through their individual lens. And the trick is you try to take all of those lenses and put them together, and build a budget, as dry as that sounds, that basically takes this many resources and tries to help this much need. And so you do the same thing as a mayor.
We have to share. We have to share. United we stand.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's I talk about rowing the boat. If we have 15 people rowing on one side and one person rowing on the other side, we're going to be doing this, right? So let's row the boat together and try to move down. Try to get some progress made.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you ready for your next question?
Sure.
Can you give us some insight into how do you manage stress?
I play guitar, and I
Really?
Yeah, I play music.
So do I.
Yeah.
What kind of what do you play?
I have more than what kind of music or what kind of guitar?
Both.
Well, I go through, I have a little bit of a habit. We talk about this. My wife had intervention the other day with me on my guitars. No, I have more than one guitar. I've got an electric Gibson guitar that I play. I've got a Taylor acoustic. I've got a couple of acoustics. I've got a Telecaster. So
Any 12 strings?
No 12 strings, no. But you can tune your guitar to Nashville tuning, where you take your low E and you tune it up an octave, and you kind of get that same sound. Actually,
Wow, you are into it.
I'm not very good, but I'm technically I like it. I like to play.
Do you play country music?
I play lots of things. I'm learning a White Stripes song right now. I'm a big fan of Jack White, but I play Merle Haggard stuff. I play.
Do you sing?
Black Keys. I sing horribly. Horribly. And so but I play I'll play old, Jim Croce stuff. I'll play James Taylor stuff. I'll play country. I'll play.
If I could save time in a bottle.
See, you're a much better singer.
Oh,
yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I'm dating myself. But there's been a lot of great music. But there's a lot of great music being made, and I'm a big fan. I've met presidents. I've met world leaders. It's always great to do that, and you feel honored to be able to do that. But I'm in awe of working musicians and people who can make a living painting, written word, spoken word. So that's where I get in awe, when somebody has the talent to make a living at that. So there's no chance that I'm going to quit my day job. But
you
to be
jam.
an artist. But I go to my back bedroom and I play guitar, and I learn. YouTube's great because you can take guitar lessons. And you can learn. I learned Honky Tonk Woman the other night, and some of Keith Richards' open G tunings and things like that. So that's my de-stressor. I do exercise some, not as much as I wish I could because of the time constraints, because I'm putting in pretty long, putting in a 16-hour day pretty consistently. But every day I try to pick up a guitar and play. And then I like to spend time with my family.
I was going to say, does your wife sing?
She does sing, yeah.
Does she, when you play guitar, will she sing?
We don't do too much together. It's kind of, she banishes me to the back bedroom, and I get to go back there and be a rock star for 45 minutes. And I got to come out and do the dishes. But so for me, it's. And then we love being outdoors. We just, we've really tried to keep a family balance. As being mayor, I try to get home for dinner every night. I miss a lot of the cocktail party type things, but my time with my family is important, and so we I can work till midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, but I always try to be home for dinner. Yeah.
I like a family man. I think that's wonderful.
You look back and kids will be gone someday, and I've talked to so many people in the industry over the years where they look back and they go, "Gosh, I wish I sacrificed too much family stuff."
I missed it.
Yeah. You talk to elected officials, and that's a big problem with elected officials sometimes. So we really carve out, family time.
And when you lie down to go to sleep, do you go to sleep?
Yeah, I sleep like a baby.
Good.
But by the time I go to sleep, I'm really tired. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. I had no idea you were a rock star.
I am not a rock star, but I play guitar.
Well, I play guitar and I'm a rock star.
Yeah, well, I think you're a rock star. Yeah, absolutely.
You're very sweet. All right, question number 3. Can you discuss the reforms that you and APD have been working on and how you feel that will help with community trust?
Sure. Lots of work to be done here. I've been working on this issue really since a couple of months after I took office as the mayor. We had a spike in officer-involved shootings in 2010. I think we had 14 that year. As much as we wish the average in Albuquerque were 0 officer-involved shootings, the typical number, you know, before I was mayor, even is 6 to 7 a year officer-involved shootings. And we had a spike, so we started working on reform issues to do 2 things. Number one, to make sure our officers get home safely at the end of their shift, and we want to make sure that we do that. It's a tough job, particularly in today's environment where
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous, but we just don't have a continuum of care for mental health services, and so lots of times, just like teachers find themselves being the backstop to poverty, to child abuse, to social issues in the classroom, our police officers find themselves being a backstop to those who are living in crisis on our streets. And we want to make sure we're really super clear here. Mental health issues do not equal violence, but there are times, a very, very small percentage of times, when mental health issues do lead to people doing harm to themselves or others. And our police, because we don't have this continuum of care, not just in New Mexico, but in America right now, they're the backstop to that. But we had a spike in officer-involved shootings. So we got busy in my first term, and we hired a group called the Police Executive Research Forum, which is really one of the groups that's considered to be experts in this country on these issues. We studied the circumstances and put in a little over 60 reforms in my first term. I'm going to cough for a minute here, excuse me. To try to de-escalate the situation, get the situation better. And we made some progress. We had below average officer-involved shootings for the following 2 years of my first term. So we had a spike, and then below average, and we were on scale to be half of average last year. And then we had the incident where the person started shooting our police officers, and we had 4 officers, including Deputy Hopkins from the sheriff's department, critically wounded. And then we had a little mini spike after that brought us back to average. So we know we made some progress, but through all of this, we had the Department of Justice come in and do an investigation, and they came out with a very, very difficult findings letter that talked about the Albuquerque Police Department, as they have talked about other departments in Seattle and Portland and in other cities across the country where there's an excessive use of force and there was some unconstitutional policing. So now we are in the middle of this process of trying to craft an agreement that will take us to the next step. So when I talk to people that are angry about this, and I get upset about the situation, and I lose sleep, even though I talk about sleeping like a baby, you do lose sleep over this because it's really an important matter. We've made some progress. We were very proactive, probably unprecedented reforms in our first term, but we didn't get there. And so now we're going to try to use this second term to get the department where it needs to be, both for the officers and for the community. And so much of this, I'm getting around to your question, is so much of this is going to have to be done between the community and the officers themselves. I've been in a number of meetings, and I've met with family members who've lost loved ones in officer-involved shootings. I've met with widows of officers who've been killed in the line of duty. I've met with activists. I've met with lots and lots of people on this. And one of the things that I'm convinced of as a mayor is that as a mayor I can be in a room and I can lead a conversation and I can talk about all the things we're doing. But at the end of the day, for community police relationships, it has to be the officers in a room with those that they serve. And like I say, I've seen it on a number of occasions in the last year, approximately in the last year, and I've seen wonderful interactions. Tense sometimes, difficult sometimes, but really at the end of those, that's how we're going to be crafting this. That's why we're taking this community input that we have and taking it to the negotiations.
Communication.
It is, and one of the things that the Department of Justice I thought was really interesting when we had one of our first community meetings with officers. They brought some folks in, not from the Civil Rights Division that's working with us on this agreement, but on their Public Relations Division of the Department of Justice, a woman named Cynthia Taylor. And she brought a group in, and a retired police officer from San Francisco was one of the facilitators of the meeting that I was in. And we had flip charts, and we were talking about what does this look like in the community? what do better community police relationships look like? And words like respect were written down. People want respect. Officers want respect. The community wants respect. And we started talking about lots of these issues. But the gentleman from the DOJ flipped the chart over and he said, I want to write one word down. And he wrote expectations on this chart in really big letters. And it really struck me because I think that's at the heart of some of this. You know, we wish we had no interactions between the police and the public that required use of force.
Right.
But the fact is, there's not a city in America that doesn't have a fairly substantial number. So how can we craft solutions to de-escalate that, have effective and constitutional policing, but also have these community relationships so that when something does happen, we as a community can say, that did not meet our expectations, both from the departmental standpoint and from the community standpoint, and then work on it together so we don't have these kinds of things going on.
Yeah, expectations, that's a really good word.
Yeah, that really struck me because I really hadn't thought of that. And I think so it's a lot of what we're doing. We have a number of opportunities for our citizens to work with us here. For the next week or so, you can still come on the City of Albuquerque website, cabq.gov, and you can sign up for our community policing councils, which will have 6 of those, 1 in each of our area commands. And we'll have police officers that are picked by the commanders, and we're going to have citizens that are picked by other citizen leaders, not by the mayor or the city councilors. And they're going to meet on a monthly basis to start with, and then they can adjust moving forward to really talk about policy issues. What are you seeing in your neighborhoods? Not so much about I want a speed hump in front of my house, or there's people
Right.
speeding here, or a stop sign, but really what are you seeing? And I may be jumping ahead here. But we want people to get on and sign up for those, and then they'll be selected by their peers to be on these community policing councils. But on a much broader standpoint, in the month of August, we're going to start community meetings where we need hundreds, if not thousands, of people coming out and sharing ideas, sharing questions and concerns, but really moving towards dialogue and consensus. And they can sign up for that also at our website. Just go to the main page of the city website and sign up.
Okay, yeah, the best way to empower people is to invite involvement.
I agree.
So I think it's wonderful.
I agree.
Okay, great. Next question. We're hearing a lot about solution-based conversations. What does that look like, and how do people get involved? And you touched on that. And then the second part of this question is, how can someone become a part of community policing? How do you do it?
That's those 2 things. I apologize. I jumped ahead a little bit.
That's okay.
But that's what we want people to do. Get on the website, sign up. And then when you sign up for the community, the citywide community engagement process, there's some things that you can identify right on the spot. If you don't even want to come to a meeting, there's a place for you to say, tell us what your questions are, what your concerns are, and then tell us where you're coming from on this. Are you a person that has been involved in a citizen police interaction that didn't go well in your mind or otherwise? Tell us about it. Tell us what you think the problems are. Tell us why you think those are the problems. And then, most importantly, spend some time telling us what you think the solutions are.
Give us feedback. Give us
feedback. And I see right now the conversation in the community really turning in a positive direction in that the people that have the concerns, we want them to be able to express those concerns. But then we want to turn the conversations to, please, work with us. We all want the same things. Help us out. The officers want the same things. The administration, the mayor wants the same things. We can't do it without your input. And this is hard work. People are busy. They get home at night, they're working 1, maybe 2 jobs, or they're taking care of their family, they're taking care of
their
elderly parents.
landscaping.
Whatever it happens to be,
Yeah.
we're busy. It's a busy time. The economy's not where we want it nationally. We're 7 million jobs still nationally behind where we were when the recession hit. So I mean, it's tougher all over. And so for me as a mayor to ask people, take an extra half an hour to an hour of your time away from your family and give us input. I know that's a heavy lift. I know that's a big ask, but I can't do it. I cannot do it. One guy can't do this.
Right.
And nor should people expect one guy. And it would be arrogant for me to think that I could just wave my magic wand and all of a sudden it gets better. We've been working really hard on it for my entire time really as mayor. But once again, more to do, and we need the citizens to help us.
Yeah, I want to encourage everyone watching to become involved. I was block captain in my neighborhood, and when I would hold meetings among the neighbors, I would say, when we're out and about, we need to be like cats. We need to have our ears up, our whiskers out, be alert, look around, communicate. And back when we were kids, we were taught about danger, stranger. They're still out there. And when we're talking as a community and as a neighborhood and we know each other, and someone comes along that we're not sure who they are, we need to find out what's going on and why, and just be aware. I call it healthy paranoia.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was block captain, and then I was security administrator. We had a park in my neighborhood, and we actually had people in the neighborhood volunteer on Friday and Saturday nights from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., and they would drive around the
we
park
see a lot of that. We see a lot of that in the communities.
and call the police if suspicious activity was seen.
And when people are engaged like that, we have a lot of neighborhoods that are, those community police relationships in those neighborhoods are much different than they are in areas where people aren't engaged and involved. And once again, this is really hard work. I talk to people a lot about what's this glue that holds together a city. And this is exactly what you're talking about. Government can't do everything for everybody, but we need to be doing things well. We need to be taking your tax dollars and putting them back to you in services that are meaningful, whether it's community centers, senior meal programs, our school systems, police, fire, all of these things. But you just can't, I've never seen a city do well that didn't have community engagement. But here's the good news, is I've really seen our city, since day one as being the mayor, stepping up and helping others. From a philanthropic standpoint, I mean, we raise more money in this community per capita than a lot of cities around the country to help our friends and our neighbors. This community has a big heart. But once again, I'm just asking folks, get involved, whatever it happens to be. Block captain, be on one of the community policing councils, be on, to help us with this police community relations work. Because the return on that investment for those that we serve is huge.
This town belongs to you.
It does. I always one of the most fun things I enjoy, one of the things I really enjoy the most is when I get to meet with kids. And so they'll come to the mayor's office on a field trip, and they might be third graders, and they're studying for the first time really civics, who's the mayor? Who's the mayor work for, kind of questions. And I always ask them that. And I say, who does the mayor work for? And they say, the president? And then they'll have all of these things, but I always come back around and say, I work for you. So you tell an eight-year-old or even a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old or an 8th grader even, I work for you. And they're like, what do you mean? And we started having this conversation. I work for your parents. Yes, they are voters, so to speak, but I really work for you as well. And then they leave with this idea that, wow, then I ask them to be leaders. Go back and be leaders in your school, be leaders in your classroom, be leaders in your family as well. And sometimes that's just pick up your room, If your mom asks you to do your homework, why don't you get that done? Be a leader out there. So it starts very young and it goes all the way through. We just lost one of our great volunteers. He was 104 years old, and he was a great volunteer for our city. And I met a guy the other day that's 90 years old and blind that golfs every week at our golf courses. So a lot of good leadership in Albuquerque.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why it's a great job, right? This is what I was talking about earlier.
Right, exactly, yeah. People are amazing. They really are.
They're resilient and they're amazing.
They are. They never cease to surprise me. Okay, next question. Some of these reforms that you're working on with APD will have immediate results, while others could take months or even years to see changes. What can the community expect in terms of a timeline?
Well, let's go back to expectations. And I think this is one of those. We will craft an agreement, I'm confident, with the Department of Justice that we think works for both the city and for the department. And that's so important because if you look at other cities around the country that have been through this, we're like the 14th or 15th city in recent years that have been through this. So it's not unique to Albuquerque, but we have some good lessons learned. And I think by the end of this year, we should be in a position where we have something ready to start talking to the community about as far as here's what we've determined, whether it's use of force policy or some of the technical things that I'm not even qualified to be in the room when they're talking about. I mean, how many times do you when can you escalate force, those kinds of things. I'm going to leave that to the Department of Justice and the experts. But I'll be the person that enters into this agreement as the mayor of the city. So I would think by the end of the year we'll have a lot more substantive things to talk, substantive things to talk about. And but in the meantime, we want to have this community engagement so that we can take those ideas to the negotiating table with us. And a lot of the people that we're talking to, the DOJ is also talking to. So
It's a process. It's going to be a process.
We're talking about months, but then what's going to be so important is the monitoring of this. So there's going to be, and I've said this as the mayor, we need to have a monitoring situation in place so that those in the public that don't have trust in the police department at least have an independent third party that can tell them, yes, they are doing what we agreed to, yes, it is working, some of those things. Other people trust us when we tell them the information. It doesn't matter who gives the information. We want people to know that it's for real, that it's transparent, that it's not just smoke and mirrors, that it's really working. And so that'll be some through data. It'll be done through surveying and things like that. So we'll get the process in place. We'll get the new policies and procedures in place. That'll take probably the better part of a year. By the end of this year, we should have most of the agreements crafted. And then we will see how this changes over a period of time. But the thing that's most important is, long after I'm the mayor, I want to look back and say, wow, we put some things in place that were sustainable. Community policing councils, community engagement, community police relationships, and policies and procedures so that regardless of who the next mayor is, the next chief of police down the road, that we don't fall backwards. And some cities frankly have. So let's try to put something in place where we don't just make immediate improvements. My hope is that we can do something that lasts for generations. Because as I talk to people, even the most ardent, folks that are concerned about the police department tell me this is decades in the making, and so let's make sure we can build something that lasts.
I appreciate that reassurance.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I don't know if I just hope we can.
Okay. Let's hope we can.
Yeah.
Step by step, day by day.
But we're gonna have to do it together, sure.
Yes. Statistically, how do we compare with other cities in terms of crime?
Well, if you look at cities of our size, we're about in the middle of the pack.
Okay.
There's a lot of people in our town that say, well, it's a very violent city, this and that. But if you look at the statistics, and I saw something, and I don't want to say this is definitive, but I saw a study recently where we weren't even in the top 100 most violent cities in the country.
I saw that too.
And here we are, the 30th. But people have this perception, and sometimes, stories that you see day to day, sometimes they center on the things that are sensational. That's what news is. It's never news when the airplane lands, right?
Right.
And so we understand that, but it kind of gives a perception that we're maybe a little bit more violent than we are. With that said, I'm really proud of the police department because in my first term, they were able to bring the crime rates in Albuquerque to 20-year lows and hold them there. So crime rates we're kind of bouncing around. This year may go up 5% and then it go down 3%, but we really were able to drive those crime rates to 20-year lows and then kind of hold them in that area.
That's significant.
It is, and so this is a testament to the police officers that go out every day and do great work. Plus, we've had some chiefs that have been very innovative.
Awesome. And I'm getting the sign like, okay, wrap this up, Julia.
Sure.
How many calls does APD respond to each year where arrests are made without use of force?
Okay, so we have, in approximate numbers, 500,000 calls for service a year. So since I've been mayor, we've had several million calls for service.
Wow.
My understanding is we have about 25 to 30,000 arrests per year.
Okay.
And maybe 200 to 250 of those have use of force. So far less than even 1% of the calls, even the arrests. I mean, when you have calls for service, a couple hundred out of 500,000 is very, very small number. 200 to 250 out of 25 to 30,000 is less than 1%. But when those don't go well, they don't go well in a big way.
Yeah.
So our big question is, if you look at the Department of Justice findings, some of the unconstitutional findings were before I was the mayor, some while I've been the mayor, some were officer-involved shootings, some were actual use of force. And so our goal is to set an agreement in place where the policies and training are even better than they are today, which we're frankly a department that does train well. Historically, we've won lots of awards even before I was the mayor. But let's do better so that we can take those numbers where they go bad. For either the officer or for the public, and really do our best to decrease those, and that's the goal.
Excellent. Any final words of wisdom or encouragement for us?
No, it's a great city, and we want people to remember this. It's tough times, we know that. The things I talk to mayors around the country that we think are unique to us aren't. Every city is going through some of these issues in one way or the other. But the thing that separates Albuquerque, and the reason I can't wait to get home when I'm traveling, is because this is a very unique place. And everybody loves their hometown, everybody brags about their city, but there's really something special about Albuquerque, and it's because of the folks that we have. And it is our diversity. Our diversity matters. And I think that the rest of the country is going to look a lot more like Albuquerque in 25 years than we're going to look like the rest of the country. So I think some of the things that we're working on here, we can really benefit. So stay engaged, coach me as a mayor, help me work for you, and that's what I'm asking, because we'll work hard for you, but we can't do it without your help and your leadership and guidance as well as a citizen.
Mayor, thank you for your service.
Thanks a lot.
I so appreciate you coming on the program, and thank you for watching. This is Dr. Julia Bain. Until next time, be happy and be well.
This has been Employee Health Services Mind, Body, and Spirit. For more information, call the City of Albuquerque's Employee Health Services at 768-4613. Let the Employee Health Services staff let you be your best at work, at home, and at play.